Finally, after 2 months of travel, we were on our way home, but we had one more stop to make. This is the Crystal Bridges Museum in Bentonville, Arkansas. If that city sounds familiar to you, it's because it's the headquarters of Walmart. And this museum, which is free to the public, is totally or majorly funded by the Walton family. It's an incredible place to visit. Even before we got inside, we saw this lovely silver tree, similar to the one that we had seen in Kansas City. I never did find out who the artist was. As we walked in, we saw this We the People display, and as we got closer, we realized that it was made up of cords. There's an amazing diversity of art here, from classical to pop to very modern. Here's Rockwell's Rosie the Riveter, Charles Wilson Peele's George Washington, and of course the famous Gilbert Stuart's portrait of George Washington. If you wonder why it's here, it's not the only one. Stuart actually made scores of copies of this portrait on commission and sold them to collectors around the world. Here's a very unusual work of art made of spools of thread reflected in a globe to show an image of the Last Supper. And then nearby is this Shores of Lake Superior by Thomas Moran. I think it's rather fanciful, as there's nothing even remotely similar to that on the shores of Lake Superior. Here's a chunky wood sculpture called The Bathers. No, that lady's not part of it. And then an Andy Warhol portrait of Dolly Parton. And then this interesting sculpture called Depression Breadline by George Siegel. He actually placed himself in the line as the 1 second from the end behind the tall man. This one is called Lord Save the Child by Thomas Hart Benton. There were also works of art on the walls. I didn't care too much for this one, but this one called Silver Upper White River by Maya Lin was beautiful. It shows the entire course of the river done in liquid silver. Amazing. Wait a minute, who's that at the end there? Again, a large variety of different projects. I don't even know what to say about them. This one is called Field and Stream by Al Souza and is made up totally of layered sections of jigsaw puzzles. Somehow, after seeing all this amazing art, even this empty gallery with a man working on the piano seemed sculptural to me. But it was time to go outside where we would find even more art. This is Dale Chihuly's work called Turquoise Reeds and Ozark Fiori. Dale Chihuly, of course, is the famous glass artist whose works we've seen other places as well. As we wandered along the outside art trail, we came across something that you'll never guess what it is. Yes, our sixth and final Frank Lloyd Wright construction called Bachman Wilson House, which was moved here to the museum to save it from destruction. Unfortunately, they were not giving tours because of COVID, but it was really cool to see one last Frank Lloyd Wright house before going home. After leaving the museum, we continued along National Route 412, which we followed all the way across Arkansas, and stopped for the night at the Buffalo Point Campground on the Buffalo National River. In that area, we found one last interesting thing to see. One more ghost town. Now this is a real ghost town. It's a town called Rush because of a rush for zinc oxide. They said at one point 6,000 people lived here. Well, unfortunately, we're not allowed to go in the structures, but it's just sitting here. We are back in Missouri, and guess what we're seeing? Cotton. We're about 200 feet above sea level, and the next 40 miles or so, we should be approaching the Mississippi. Crossing the Mississippi River to our home state. There it is, mighty Mississippi. Much wider here than when we crossed it the last time at its source in Minnesota.
Country road take me home to the place I belong in Tennessee. That's what I say. Country road take me home.
Welcome to the great state of Tennessee.
Volunteer stage.
This brings us to the end of our amazing van life Great Western road trip. Thank you for coming along with us for all 9,400 miles. It's good to be home.